So let's visit Sekhekune Tvet College, located in the Limpopo province, in the Sekhekune district. Sekhekune, the great warrior king. So I'm going to start the video and we're going to start to fly in. And his father, Sekhwati, actually claimed to own the territory all the way from the Limpopo on the one side to the Vaal on the other side, which you can see there. But under his son, what happened was this became the consolidated land and became known as Sekhekune land. Now, Sekhekune himself, the name means creeping, and he showed his bravery very young when his father was being attacked and actually starved out by the Boers in his royal residence, which was in Piring, which is right on the other side of the mountains. And what happened was Sekhekune crept underneath the Boer defenses with some maidens and got his dad much needed water, which enabled them to actually survive for longer. And that's the way that they waited out the Boers. Now, the land which we're traveling in is in a mountain shadow, so it's very dry. And what you can see in front of you are various mines. And a lot of these mines have been abandoned recently because they've been mined out. They were historically sites where some tvet training happened, and that's stopped now. Sekhekune, the way that he managed to get his wealth was by sending his young men to go and work on the white farms and in the diamond mines. And what would happen is for that they'd get guns and they'd get enough money to buy cattle. And that combination of guns and cattle meant that he could establish patronage networks across this area. And through other techniques like marriage and alliances, he consolidated his reign over this area and was a much respected king in the area. And we're pulling around to the CN Patudi campus. And CN Patudi is named after the first leader of the Leboa homelands. He was the chief minister from 1973 to 1987. So it's quite a contrast between Sekhekune and CN Patudi. Although CN Patudi, to his credit, was a complex character. He certainly put up quite a lot of resistance to the apartheid regime, and he tried to use the homelands as well as he could. So he's a respected figure in Limpopo, and that's why they've called the campus after him. And this particular campus, it's quite interesting in terms of the residence system. It's got 300 beds in the campus itself, but the students don't like to stay there. It's not even half full. And the reason is they prefer to take their allowances and take that and go stay in the surrounding area in the villages and keep some of the money for their own survival. Now, this campus does engineering and it does business studies, civil, mechanical and electrical engineering, and it does things like marketing management, financial management, HR, public management, and that kind of stuff. And I want to pull out from the CN Patudi River, and we want to kind of pull out over all the mining that's happening. As you can see coming across you, the massive platinum mines on the one side and the massive palladium mines, and there's also iron in the area and coal. And I just want to pull right around the Tubatsi River on the one side and the Lepele River on the other side, so you can get a sense of the extent of the kingdom. And we're pulling around behind the Volkberg Mountains because I actually want to show you some of this bushveld igneous complex mining that's going on. Basically what happened was 2,000 million years ago, there's a massive break through the Earth's crust, through the Earth's mantle, and what happened was molten igneous lava poured through all the way from Rustenburg on the one side, that's on the western side, and through to Sekhekune over here on the eastern side. And what happened was that enabled massive amounts of mining to happen in the area. But of course there's a struggle between the mines on the one side wanting to use as little labor as they possibly can because it's a big cost for them, and they're looking for the interests of their shareholders and the people living here who feel that they should be employed in the mines, even though often they haven't got the required skill levels which these TVET colleges aren't managing to provide. And I'll talk a little bit about that later. Now we're pulling around from that mining area in the dry part of Sekhekune now into this man-made floodplain where the Olifants River goes into the Loskop Dam a bit further on, and it's created this fertile zone where massive amounts of commercial farming happens. And I've chosen Groblersdal because I want you to get a sense of the white suburb over here, the historically white suburb. All the rich commercial farms, which are basically white owned and have historically been taken from black communities in the area, but are now successful, making a lot of money. A lot of tax is drawn from that, and it does provide some kind of labor for the people living in the area. But I want to contrast the Groblersdal, and I want to pull quickly across to Siabuswa, because Siabuswa is where the CS Bala campus is located. It's an old technical school, old teachers college, and it also offers things like engineering, civil, mechanical and electrical, and it offers things like business studies and that kind of stuff. And what you can see as we pull across is you can see Siabuswa, poor township on the one side, and you can see the rich kind of agricultural area on the other side where they are forced to work. And that's one of the major providers of employment in this particular area, is this kind of agricultural work. It's not well paid. The mines provide a lot of the income for the province and for the district, but they don't offer much employment. And often the employment which they do offer is highly skilled, so it goes to foreigners who come through from other zones, causing a lot of resentment in the area. Interestingly enough, although this is a big agricultural zone, Sekhekune doesn't offer agriculture. That's done at the Tompi Seleka Agricultural College, and that's a little bit further down as we'll run across Marble Hall. Now, just like Sekhekune College doesn't actually offer any agricultural courses, the other issue is that with all these mines that are around, it doesn't actually have any work-integrated learning projects or much contact with the mines themselves. The parliamentary group, when they visited Sekhekune in 2017, were disappointed because there's over 20 mines in this area, and there's not much interaction between the college and the mine. So there's this difficult space which we're going to have to interrogate more carefully. We're now coming along to the Nchabaleng campus. Now, what happened over here, this was an abandoned old teachers' college when they closed down around 20 teachers' colleges all across Limpopo. When I say abandoned, I mean abandoned. It was left doing nothing for 15 years. And eventually the community in the area turned around and said, look, if you don't do something here, because we desperately need skills, we desperately need training, we're actually going to vandalize this. We're actually going to take it apart because it's not doing anything for us. And to their credit, both Parliament and the Sekhekune College listened, and they've actually put some money forward. When they visited it, it was really kind of in a bad state. It does have a residence system as well, not like the 680 at the Barlow campus and the 300 at the Patudi campus. It's really only got 227 places. But curiously enough, those are full. And you can see why, because it's quite far away from the actual local residences in the area. What I want to do now is I just want to pull away from Nchabaleng and I just want to go over the hill, because I want to show you where Sekhekune actually lived. And he lived in Djata. It's got the famous Thaba Maseka fighting hill where he fought against both the Boers and the British and defeated them all. Now, what I want you to look for when you go over the mountains is you'll see that it's a space which is located with a river which runs through it on the one side. So he's got definite access to water. And then it's got hills on both sides which are difficult to actually attack from. So you could only attack from the front, which meant that it was a really difficult place to attack. And Djata was the capital of the Sekhekune kingdom for, I think, around about 30 years. And I just find it tragic that there it is over there. That's the zone which you hardly find any markings on a map. It's not really well known. I really had to struggle to find it. And there it is, the capital of what should be a central, thriving space within the Sekhekune area. Now, I just want to pull back a little bit. I think you can now see that wonderful circular space which the Sekhekune TVET College occupies. So as we pull out, I always like to see the owl. And what you can see is Sekhekune really occupies the right eye of the owl. And as you watch all our travels, you're going to see that there's other TVET colleges which occupy the left eye. And you're going to see the central line running down the owl. That's a Waterberg. There's other colleges there. And you're going to see where the ear of the owl is. That's another set of colleges. And behind where its head is, that's another set of colleges. And what I'm hoping, by the time you've watched all the videos, is you'll have a strong sense of how and why the Limpopo TVET colleges are located where they are, the long struggles behind the actual setting up of the TVET colleges, why they're struggling with employment, why they're struggling with certain kinds of interactions with the mines, why there's issues to do with agriculture because of the commercial farms. And I'm hoping that once you've heard all of that, you'll have a better picture of the size and shape of TVET colleges in the Limpopo province.